If you're looking to get rid of stubborn fat, especially the fat around your belly and love handles, so you can be beach body and bikini body ready for the summer, then I have 5 easy things for you to do to burn body fat fast. The truth is, with the summer, you're gonna find yourself at outdoor events like barbecues and the pool and even the beach. I remember when I was obese at 250 pounds, 34% body fat, I avoided all of these outdoor events. I did not want to be seen with my shirt off. It was embarrassing to me. I was able to lose 80 pounds of fat and go from being obese to being fit, as you can see here on the screen. And I'm going to share with you the protocol that I used on myself. These are 5 easy ways for you to achieve what I achieved as well, so you can look great and feel great with your summer events. The first step in your protocol is to walk after the biggest meal of the day. I'm talking about the meal that has the most carbohydrates. Carbohydrates come from bread, pizza, pasta, cookies, oatmeal, etc. Timing your walk and doing a 30-minute walk after your biggest meal of the day has incredible benefits for not just health and weight loss and lowering inflammation, but also tapping into body fat and burning that body fat really quickly. It all has to do with something called postprandial glucose. The word postprandial means after eating. And the higher your blood sugar levels rise after eating and stay elevated after eating, the more you keep storing fat and preventing you essentially to burn fat. The quicker we could drop those postprandial glucose levels, the faster we will tap back into body fat. When you eat food, you convert that food into strings of sugar called glycogen. The glycogen is stored in your liver and muscle cells, but if it's in excess, then it's spilled out into your body fat. And that postprandial glucose will determine if it's stored into the body fat or being burned for energy. The longer glucose stays in your blood after eating, the more insulin is produced. And remember, insulin is a fat storage, energy sensing hormone that tells your body and metabolism to store fat and store it as fast as possible. So postprandial glucose is the best measurement of this process. And yes, you could buy a machine like a Keto Mojo or a blood finger prick machine to test the postprandial glucose, but you don't have to do that. Just follow this tip and you're going to get the results that you're looking for. Studies show one of the best ways to optimize that postprandial glucose is to go for a 30-minute walk after your biggest meal of the day. A couple things happen here. Number one, you activate something called the GLUT4 transporters, which signals to your metabolism, instead of keeping the blood sugars up, to burn it for energy and pack it into those liver and muscle cells. Check out the study called The Effects of Postprandial Walking on the Glucose Response After Meals with Different Characteristics. This study found that postprandial brisk walking substantially reduced the glucose peak in both studies, with no significant differences across conditions. When evaluating the glycemic response throughout the 2 hours post-meal, postprandial walking was more effective after consuming a low-carbohydrate meal, a mixed meal of different macronutrients, and a high-carbohydrate meal, meaning doesn't really matter what you consume. When you go for that 30-minute walk after the meal, you're going to benefit. The study showed that a 30-minute brisk walking session improves the glycemic response after meals. Doesn't matter what the person consumed, and this has implications for postprandial exercise prescription and daily life scenarios. Therefore, the first step in your protocol, 30-minute walk after your biggest meal, and if you have the time or could make the time after all your meals, go for a walk. The second step in your protocol is to close the kitchen 3 hours before bed, meaning do not eat any food at least 3 hours before bed. One of the fastest ways to raise inflammation in your body, create rapid aging, and pack on the fat is to eat right before bed. That's what sumo wrestlers do to pack on as much fat as possible, but that's not what we want. We want to do the opposite of what sumo wrestlers do. You see, you never want to give your metabolism energy and not use that energy. When you eat something and go to bed, you're not burning off that excess energy. You're lying down, which actually leads to acid reflux and GERD as well. But also it creates inflammation because you're consuming all this energy, but then you're not using it. You're lying down and going to bed. So it'll, number one, disrupt your sleep, cause fat storage. You'll wake up feeling more tired and foggy, and it's gonna just lead to inflammation and disease faster. So the rule of thumb here is 3 hours before bed, no food. You could have water, you could have some tea and some supplements, but no food. So if you're in the habit of going to bed at 11 p.m., 8 p.m., you should have your last bite of food. Even more beneficial if you could have that dinner earlier in the day, which brings me to the third tip here. The third tip is going to be to practice something called early time restricted feeding. Early time restricted feeding means you're going to consume all of your meals during a certain eating window. Now, I get it. The schedule I'm going to share with you today, right now, might be difficult to do every day. But if you could hit this schedule at least 5 days out of the week, Monday through Friday, the weekdays, you're gonna nail it here by burning fat and losing some serious weight. Studies suggest that if you consume your meals between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., which is a 6-hour window, and then fast outside of that, you're gonna lose some serious weight, you're gonna anti-age, and you're gonna feel good. There was a recent study that came out of the University of Alabama, Birmingham by Dr. Courtney Peterson. This is a really fascinating study because they had 2 test groups. Test group A, as we'll call them, consumed all of their calories between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. and they controlled every calorie that went into their mouths. The test group B consumed the same amount of calories, but instead of having it earlier in the day, they had their calories between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. So still did a form of time-restricted feeding, also called intermittent fasting, but had it later in the day. Here is what was fascinating with this study. Test group A, the early time-restricted feeding group, after just 4 days of doing this, they had 22% more autophagy. Autophagy is a process in your body that gets turned on to clean up damaged cells and repair cells and mitochondria, which is really important for energy production, fat loss, and preventing cancer. This process, as I like to explain it, is like a refrigerator. You open up a refrigerator and what do you see? You have groceries inside of the refrigerator with expiration dates. Every grocery has an expiration date. But what would happen if you let all the groceries inside of your refrigerator expire? And instead of throwing them into the trash, you kind of just shove them towards the back of the fridge, buy new groceries, put them in front of the old groceries in that refrigerator, and close the door. It's gonna be disgusting. Disease will manifest in that environment. Well, guess what? Your body is like the refrigerator. You have cells, proteins, and mitochondria that all have expiration dates on them. And if you're not taking the time to get rid of those expired cells, aka expired groceries, you're gonna create inflammation, you're gonna gain weight, and you're gonna create disease faster. Autophagy is the process of getting rid of those expired cells and groceries. And the study showed you get 22% more autophagy just after 4 days of eating between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. And by the way, the study measured a protein called the LC3A protein, which is the measurement of autophagy. This was a super cool study, very sophisticated, all done in a lab. The second thing they measured in the study were these genes called sirtuins. Now, in the longevity, anti-aging, biohacking space, it's all about sirtuin research. You might follow some people who talk about these longevity genes for a good reason, because the more we could promote these sirtuins and activate these sirtuins, the more our DNA gets protected, and it strengthens and lengthens something called telomeres, which protect the DNA. The faster you damage your DNA, the shorter your lifespan, the more weight you gain. So the goal is to protect that DNA, and sirtuins protect them. With this study, that group A that ate between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. had 10% more of their sirtuins activated after only 4 days. So that means for most days, I would say Monday through Friday, eat between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. And then from 2 p.m. all the way till 8 a.m. the next day, you're in a fasted state. You're having water, some electrolytes, some supplements, some tea, but no food. The fourth step in your protocol here is to consume apple cider vinegar before all of your meals. There is a ton of research showing apple cider vinegar boosts metabolism, suppresses appetite, and reduces fat storage. There are 3 benefits to apple cider vinegar to be mindful of. The first one is acetic acid, which has been shown to increase the metabolism. It's a short-chain fatty acid, which studies have shown to curb cravings by 600 calories per day, and it inhibits fat storage. The second key benefit of apple cider vinegar is what it does for digestion. Because apple cider vinegar is acidic, it builds acid in your gut, and that is important. The gut is very acidic, which helps you break down protein, and the apple cider vinegar helps your soccer mom organ, liver, produce bile to break down dietary fat. And the third benefit of apple cider vinegar is what it does for blood sugar stabilization, especially postprandial blood sugar stabilization. As we just discussed, that is key to burning fat. Numerous studies have shown that you can mitigate that postprandial glucose spike by consuming apple cider vinegar. And this has been shown in healthy adults, pre-diabetic, and diabetics. And I could go on and on the research of apple cider vinegar to lower fasting blood glucose levels, to increase the metabolism, to improve muscle performance, to regulate appetite control, to decrease insulin, the fat storage hormone, and to prevent fat storage in the future. So what you want to do is consume apple cider vinegar 15 to 20 minutes before every single meal. Things to be aware of with apple cider vinegar. It's really popular, so you'll see apple cider vinegar gummies. Don't buy those. Those are a whole bunch of BS with artificial ingredients and fillers and not even enough apple cider vinegar to get you the results that we're talking about here. Then we have the liquid form, which can be okay if you find a good brand, but you want to drink it through a straw, dilute it with water to make sure it doesn't erode your teeth and make sure it doesn't create any burning in your throat. I personally take apple cider vinegar from a capsule, and I use a company called Paleo Valley, which has an apple cider vinegar complex, which has turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, and apple cider vinegar. So I simply take 3 capsules before my meals, and that's what I would suggest you do. I have a link and a coupon code for you to get the same one I use, which I'll put in the notes down below. And the 5th step here in your protocol is when you eat your meals, to start your meals eating protein, fat, and fiber first, and if you have carbs, eat it towards the end of your meal. This is called meal pairing. I have personally tested the postprandial glucose response doing this wearing a continuous glucose monitor and checking blood glucose and ketones, and I've had dozens of students do the same thing, and they all report the benefits of doing this meal timing, this meal pairing, I should say, with protein and fat first, carbs at the end of the meal. But studies also reflect the benefits here. There was a fascinating study from the Cornell Medical Center, and researchers showed that they conducted a study with 11 patients who had type 2 diabetes and they were taking metformin. Participants ate the same meals in different sequences. Carbohydrates first in the form of bread with orange juice, followed by protein and vegetables, and then reversed the order the next week. And they showed that the blood glucose levels were 29%, 37%, and 17% lower at the 30, 60, and 120 minute mark when protein and vegetables were consumed before the carbohydrates. They reported that insulin levels were also significantly lower when carbs were eaten last. A Japanese study on food order also showed this. This study found similar results in a different population. Participants consumed vegetables, protein, and fat before carbohydrates, leading to significantly lower blood glucose and insulin levels compared to when they ate carbohydrates first. This suggests that starting a meal with non-starchy vegetables and proteins can slow gastric emptying and enhance the secretion of hormones that regulate blood sugar. So let's talk about the mechanisms of actions and how this works. 2 main things here. It slows gastric emptying. Eating protein and fat first slows down the rate at which food leaves the stomach, leading to a more gradual absorption of glucose. Number 2 is the hormonal response. Consuming protein and fat before carbs can increase the secretion of hormones like GLP-1 and cholecystokinin, peptide YY, and leptin. These are all signals to your body and your brain that you're full, so it prevents you from overeating, and it regulates your postprandial glucose levels. That is your 5-step protocol to be beach body ready. I hope you apply it. I hope you look good and feel good during your summer events. And if you love this video, you're gonna love a recent video that was just released all about the healthy foods you may never eat again after watching this video. Only 6.8% of adults have optimal cardiometabolic health. Here are the 3 main reasons why fruit is not a good idea. What are the top 5 things that we do that raise uric acid? Number 1, fructose. Number 2, fructose. Number 3, fructose. Number 4, alcohol. And number 5, high purine foods.